All right, welcome back to another episode of Soul Over Matter podcast. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Becca Francis. She is a psychic human design coach, educator, and visionary. And Becca blends human design with psychic and medium abilities. So, Becca, welcome to Soul Over Matter.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. I've known you for a while now, so it's so nice to get together and chat. It's just like chatting to an old friend. I love it.
Yeah, it's just like a coffee chat.
Yeah.
I miss you. I miss,
Mm.
being coached by you. Becca was my human design coach. So I'm excited to introduce Becca to all of you, to all the listeners and my community, because Becca has medicine and wisdom on her heart. So, Becca, tell us a little bit about your story, about how you got to human design and just coaching women through human design.
Sure. No, I'd be happy to. So, where do we start? So, I've always been in the corporate world in one way or another and always felt uncomfortable, really uncomfortable, had difficult relationships with, it seemed like every office I was in, I had a difficult relationship with the women that worked there. And it was getting to the point where it was pushing on me so much that I was so unhappy in this corporate environment. And I tried for about a decade to get a business off the ground on the side that I could leave my job for. And I did everything. I was a wedding planner. I sold pet products. I sold jewelry. I sold t-shirts. I did everything and nothing worked. And then I started doing some web design for Shivolve, for a spiritual entrepreneur group. And when COVID hit, I signed up for a mastermind with Coach Holly Marie, who's amazing. And part of the mastermind was a presentation by Eden Carpenter, all about human design. And when I knew we were going to have this presentation, I looked up human design and I pulled up my chart. And I literally snapped my laptop shut and went, no, that's way, I can't learn another thing. This is too much. No, I cannot do this. But then Eden was talking to us about human design, and it just really started to kind of ignite my interest. And a few days later, I just became obsessed. Just overnight, I bought all of her courses. My husband was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you studying? I'm like, I have no idea, but I just find it fascinating because it just made so much sense to me out of all the modalities that had kind of come and gone in my world. And I found human design in the March of 2020. And by September, I went part-time in my job. And by November, I'd left my job completely. And that is all thanks to the energy work that I did with my chart and understanding it. And then I started coaching you and a few other clients not long after that. And now I'm fully in human design. I don't do the web design anymore. And I've been through lots of changes in my business and still am. But yeah, human design is my thing. I'm obsessed.
Oh, I love it. Just hearing you talk about it, you can feel your inspiration and just your passion about it. And that's what gets to be fun, right? Being obsessed with something,
Yeah.
Sometimes in our society is seen as wrong, but if it inspires you, if it lights you up, I say it's worth it. So can you talk to us, like, what is human design? Can you
Mm.
share a little bit more about that?
Sure. Okay. So they say that this knowledge, this human design knowledge, has been in the human consciousness since time began, basically. And at different times, humanity has needed this information at different times in different ways. And this is Richard Rudd, who downloaded Gene Keys, was talking about this the other day. This is not my, I must credit that to him. Anyway, so human design, as it was downloaded by Ra Uru in 1987, is a combination of several different modalities. So there's astrology, the tree of life, the I Ching, there's quantum physics kind of mixed up in there as well at the deeper layers. And human design brings all those modalities together. And what looks like a very complicated graph, this body graph can sometimes look overwhelming, it's actually quite simple. It's just a map of who we are. And it shows us how we're all unique, all individual, and how we all work differently. And that was the thing that really drew me to it, because it stopped me comparing myself, particularly to other women. It cut through the conditioning that we all grow up with, you're too this or you're too that, or, you're too impulsive or you're too this, too that. And so, yeah, it's really a combination of those modalities, all of which I was fascinated with, but human design kind of brought it together in a way that I could understand it. And look, Michelle, it's not for everybody. No modality is for everyone. That's why we have this choice. And if it resonates with you, great. Some people it doesn't. That's great too. Take what you need and leave the rest. I'm very it works for me, and I can teach others how it works if they're fascinated, or they can just take parts of it. They can become interested in astrology or the tree of life, or whatever really draws them. It's all about what draws us in and raises our vibration at the end of the day. That's what's the important thing, as far as I see it.
Beautiful. Yes. Whatever raises our own vibrations, right? Because then we get inspired and then we share that out into the world. So you're talking about a body graph. I know about human design, but if someone had never heard of human design, what do you mean by a body graph?
So it's similar, if you know the chakra system, you can kind of use that as a basic frame of reference. So there's 7 chakras, if you imagine what that system looks like in a person. Human design has 2 extra centers, so almost 2 extra chakras, because 2 of those split off and created 9 centers. So that's really the basics. You have colored areas and you have white areas. The colored areas we call defined. So that's where you have really consistent access to this strong, most masculine energy that you came into the world with. These are your gifts that you give others. And the white areas are where we're here to pick up wisdom and here to get really wise about those energies in this lifetime. And the centers are connected by highways of energy, if you like. So they're connected by channels, and they have gates at either end, which correspond to the astrology gates that are on either side of the chart. So that's a kind of very basic explanation of the chart without having it in front of us. But if anybody's listening to this and they've never seen their chart, they can go to jovianarchive.com, for instance, and download a free chart there. There's lots of different softwares. Genetic Matrix is another one. And they can they can stop this podcast, go and download it, come back, and then they'll know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. So that's the basic body graph. It brings together really all of the energies in a way that you can see visually where the energy is flowing to and from, and how that kind of manifests itself in your everyday life.
And with the conditionings you talked about before, right? How so many of us grow up with being told we're too much, right? Or being told we're not enough. You mentioned before how you never felt comfortable in the corporate world. So what were your conditioned beliefs and systems in your own chart that kind of gave you that aha moment when you actually saw your human design?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle, because there's one part of my chart that really cracked this open for me. So our unconscious Mars, which is in the left-hand side of the chart, so those are all our unconscious gates, our body gates. The unconscious Mars in Gene Keys is our vocation. So at the shadow level, it's our core wound, what we struggle the most with, and kind of the biggest challenge that we overcome. And in the gift level, it's our zone of genius. It kind of flips into our zone of genius. So where I really help people at a deep level. So that's a really interesting sphere in Gene Keys to look at. The shadow of my vocation is all about exclusion and removing yourself and excluding yourself before others can exclude you. And when I saw that, got me, hit me kind of between the eyes and in the heart and everywhere, because that was my experience in the corporate world with women. I would literally physically exclude myself before I perceived they could hurt me. So that was the pattern, this kind of destructive pattern. And when I removed themselves, they saw me as somebody who wanted to remove themselves from them, and it set up this kind of vicious cycle. And I'm not saying that to say it was my fault or I brought it on upon myself, but having a look at that shadow and understanding it made me realize, okay, I see what's happening here. I see the part that I have to play in this. So it was really understanding and kind of meeting and understanding your gene keys is a very, very personal journey, because they really do get to the heart of who you are, and they uncover things that you, unconscious patterns and conditioning that you never even knew you had. So moving through that shadow into the gift level, which is intimacy, that's where I am now with women, like my relationship with you and lots of our other kind of sisters on Instagram, and the people that come into my programs and the people I work with. We always work in this very intimate container. So that shadow has now become my zone of genius. And the highest expression of that, the Siddhic level, is transparency. And you will always hear me say in containers or in coaching or even on stories, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to be completely transparent, and I'm very, very honest, because that's where people can really see me, and that's where I can really help people. So I would say, out of everything, my vocation sphere has been really eye-opening, and my open head center. I have a completely open head center, which means when it's out of alignment, I get so inspired. I continually ask questions that I don't need to be like, I'll be in the gym thinking, oh, I wonder why they arranged the equipment like this. I wonder how they got it through the doors. I wonder why they chose red instead of grey. And then before I know it, I'm trying to answer, all of these questions that aren't any of my business, basically. So now I understand how that works for me, how I get so inspired by others. And to be honest, that's why I've unfollowed everyone on Instagram, because I still check in on like you and Namaste Nay and all those beautiful people, and Casey, intentionally. But you're also incredible that you kind of over inspired me. Everyone over inspired me to the point where I don't know what's my idea, what's someone else's idea. Is that right for me? Is it not? So I've unfollowed everyone, and now I'm very intentional about whose energy I'm in when I'm on Instagram. So yeah, the head center and the vocation, I think, are the two main things that have really helped change things. I hope you can't. I've got Oscar here. He's 14 and he's got a little bit of senility and he's snoring very loudly. So I hope you can't hear it.
Oscar just wants to be part of the girls club and the podcast interview. That's okay.
He does.
He's always welcomed. Such beautiful revelations that human design was able to gift you, right? And that's, I mean, I was in your coaching, one-to-one coaching for I think 4 months, and just having you help me reveal parts of my chart and things that I've been through and conditioned by were literally light bulbs that almost a year later still sit with me and still inspire me. And I go back to those notes and just ways of being, because it's the society we live in. We are so programmed, right? We are so conditioned, especially as women, to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to act a certain way. So it's amazing. And I can also, I'm laughing because of your open head. I also have an open head.
That's why we used to go off on such tangents in our coaching.
We'll see how this episode goes.
We could be here for 3 hours.
I'm okay with that. I love that, how you say even the open head, the open centers, you know, those are more flowing, right? And then you can help yourself more, I don't want to say contain them, but understand them, ask questions. Like I remember that with the open head, is this important to me? Like, do I need to know this? Because I'm the same way, always thinking, always being inspired. And I'd love to hear even more about the unfollowing, because there is also such a stigma, right? People get so attached, right? People get so, what's the word? People get so triggered, right? If someone unfollows them. But you were just like, I am unfollowing everyone. I'm clean slate for your own personal energy, right? No one else's. It's
Yeah.
choosing yourself and your energy first. So how does that feel to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually did it in stages. I unfollowed a lot of people, and then I had maybe 6 or 7, and you were still one of them. And the reason why was because I thought I don't want anyone that I love to look at it and think, why has she unfollowed me? Like, what's going on there? So to actually get it down to 0, kind of, it took a little while longer, but it was so important for me because I'm just moving out of one phase of my business into a completely different phase where I'm looking at combining human design with psychic and mediumship abilities, which I'm just developing. And I need space and time to understand what that looks like. And I can't do that when I'm so inspired by everyone else. And I'm not only inspired by everyone else, I do feel that comparison. I think, oh, so and so's doing this, I should be doing that. I should be doing that. But I need space. I need time and I need space. And it's been amazing. I didn't realize what a massive effect it would have on my energy, because I used to wake up in the morning, start scrolling, mindlessly scrolling, like catching up on all you guys, but then scrolling and not even knowing how it ended up there. But now I have sovereignty in the morning, because all I'm looking at is my own feed, and I really don't need to scroll through my own feed for half an hour before I get out of bed. So I get up and I get my day started. And then when I do check in on you guys, it's a treat for me. And I'm like, oh, I want to go and see what Michelle's doing and what Naomi's doing and what Casey's doing. And because it's intentional and it feels more like love, like I'm coming to your accounts because I love you and I want to see what's going on, not because I'm being so, hyper inspired by all these ideas. So it's been amazing for me. Amazing. And occasionally Instagram has made me follow someone. Like, all of a sudden I'll look at it and it'll say you're following one person. So I don't know if it does that, but I go in and I'm like, no, unfollow, because I don't want to be kind of pulled back into that again. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking at first, but it's definitely one of the best things I've ever done on socials. And I haven't lost followers. In fact, I've gained followers. So that was a story I told myself. I'm going to lose followers. But if somebody's only following me because I'm following them, what's the point of that? That's just like a void. Like that doesn't mean anything. So I've actually gained about 200 followers since I did it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I'd highly recommend if anyone's thinking about it.
Amazing. I definitely go through unfollow sprees, and I always recommend it to my clients because of what you shared, right? It's natural to be comparing where we are on our journey to someone else's highlight reel, right? Because 9 times out of 10, we are only sharing the glittery, beautiful parts of our lives. So I just love your honesty. I love your transparency on putting your sovereignty first, right? Like choosing what you need and how it's actually affecting your energy in such a beautiful way. And that it's now a treat to look at others' Instagrams and just that intention, right? You shared that before, that word intention, right? And that's what more of us can strive to be, right? Is more intentional and present in our daily lives. And yeah, I love how you're beginning, you said your psychic mediumship abilities. So if you can share more on that and how it found you, right? Because things always find us. We're not usually searching for them.
Yes. So Yeah, those kind of abilities and feeling spirit around and seeing spirit has always been with me since I was very young, but I never really knew what to do with it. And it wasn't until, and I'd always been fascinated by mediums and the paranormal and psychics, just fascinated. And it wasn't till just after I married my second husband in 2015, we were talking one day and I was talking about the faces that I see at night, assuming that doesn't everybody see those? And he was like, no. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, doesn't everyone see these faces? And anyway, he's been awesome and he's like really encouraged me to explore it. So at the moment, I'm doing an intuitive development course, which is incredible. It's really kind of opening me up even further. And so now I think my guides have brought to me, well, human design, psychic and mediumship, how do these things go together? And I don't know yet. So I'm just on this kind of exploration of, well, finding my own way, but also saying to my guides, I need some kind of guidance as well. So things have kind of dropped in, and I do want to teach this. You know, my energy is the 6 line. I'm a 6-2 in human design. So it's all about teaching people. But my mentor, Eden Carpenter, always says that, she says, I never teach to the edges of my understanding. And I always remember that. And at the moment, human design and psychic work and mediumship abilities are at the edges of my understanding. So, and that's me being transparent. Like, I'm in the city of my vocation here, completely transparent. But I'm starting to see how they come together. So it's a really interesting journey, because it's one that I've never been on. And it's funny. I was used to see spirits at night, and now I've talked to spirit and said, with the guidance of my intuitive mentor, I don't want to see them at night anymore. I want to see them during the day. Like, I really, because I do get freaked out at night. So the last week or so, I've probably seen flashes of things out of the corner of my eye that I've never seen before. So I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if that's going to come into the daytime now. So yeah, this is all quite new for me, even though I've always been fascinated with it. It's like my spirit guides have been waiting for me, and now they're like, yes, she's here. Great, let's send them in. I'm like, okay, hold on. So
You're
yeah,
like,
but I love it.
Hold on, my human catch up.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. I actually can feel some of that energy right now in the room with me, which is amazing, that connection. And I love if you can share more about, the lines. You just said 6-2. So we know about human design, right? But someone listening might not know what the lines are. So if you can briefly chat about each of the lines.
Sure. So they're called profile lines in human design. So it's the top 2 gates at the top of your chart, and it's the number after the decimal point that we're interested in. So on the right hand side of my chart at the top, I have gate 5 in a 6 energy, and on the left I have a 2 energy. So my profile is a 6-2. So whatever profile you are, there's 12 different ones, and when you download your chart, it'll tell you what your profile is. The first number is how you see yourself. So that's your mind's the teacher, the visionary energy. The second number is how other people see you. So unconsciously, that's how people see you. And my 2 energy is known as the natural or the hermit. So I'm very often in that energy. I spend a lot of time alone because I work from home. My husband's at work all day, and I feel really comfortable in that 2 energy. So the different lines have very, very different energies. So I won't go through them all, but for instance, if you're a 1, say you're a 1-3, the 1 energy is that energy of starting something new. It's a very entrepreneurial energy, a very bold, fresh energy. And the unconscious energy, the 3, how other people see you, is somebody that they can come to for solutions to things. So somebody that's been through that trial and error and has come to conclusions. So your profile really does tell you a lot about how you learn. how you understand things, how you teach things to other people, how other people see you. And they say that in human design, you resonate with somebody of the same profile as you a lot more than someone of the same type as you, because there are 5 types. So just remind me what your profile is, Michelle.
A 3-5.
The 3-5. So the 3 is how you see yourself. A lot of trial and error. There can be a lot of conditioning around the 3 because you can feel like it's making mistakes. People can tell you like you jump around a lot and you don't finish things and you make mistakes and blah, blah, blah. But when you're wise about your own energy and you have sovereignty, you know that I need to have all these life experiences. None of them are mistakes. None of them are errors. That's how I'm here to express myself, this trial and error energy. And the 5, how other people see you, is they see you as this natural leader, this natural heroic energy. And they will come to you for those solutions that you've worked out in your 3 line because you've had all this trial and error. And sometimes with the 5, people come to you and they will project hero energy onto you. And there can be a bit of imposter syndrome there, like, well, I haven't done anything to kind of warrant people looking at me as kind of this hero, this leader. But you're naturally born in that frequency. You don't have to do anything. People are naturally drawn to you. So that's just an example of the type of understanding that you can get within a couple of minutes of how your energy works.
Yes, I definitely feel that. Lots of unconditioning, reframing. I remember you breaking that down in our sessions, and it was just so many ahas of, oh, wow, mistakes aren't mistakes, they're lessons. And the more lessons I learn here, the more I'm able to teach on them and to share them and to allow allow others to be and to give them permission, right?
Yes.
To
Yeah,
have
to feel safe.
experiences.
Yeah, to feel safe making mistakes in kind of air quotes and understanding that they're just, I mean, and that's part of the joy of life. If we all came to this material plane and got everything right immediately, how boring would that be? You know, like, you know, we need that trial and error. It's fun. And that's part of the 3 line as well, the humor of kind of being able to laugh at yourself and going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. That's so funny. Can you believe I did that? Or I thought that's hilarious. And like this lightness and this humor is very much a part of the 3 line as well, which is really lovely.
Yeah, definitely a recovering serious soul. So being able to be light and jovial about my life is definitely healing for me. So you shared about your 6, the 2, the 3, the 5. So what about 1 and 4? What would those energies of the lines represent?
A 1-4. Okay, so the 1, if you're a 1-4 profile, the 1 would be that entrepreneurial energy, the starting something new, the fresh, the bold. It's kind of a researchy, if that's a word, energy. I was talking to someone on Zoom not long ago, and behind her, she had lots of white pieces of paper on the wall with, it looked like a crime scene documentary, you know, with all these different kind of lines and arrows and circles. And that's the mind of a 1 energy. Like, and she said, I need to put it on the wall. I need to see it and break it down and put it back together. And then the 4, how other people see her, is somebody that can connect a community, but a small trusted community. So they would go to her, for instance, for resources, referrals, recommendations. She unconsciously can match the right people with the right resources, because numbers 1 to 3 or lines 1 to 3 are kind of these personal numbers. It's all about personal karma and working on the self. And the 4 to 6, the upper trigram, is about interpersonal energy. So in her unconscious, in the 4, she's working with the first line of interpersonal energy. So the 4 starts to make connections, take the individuals and start to join them together in that 4 energy. It's also known as the networker as well. So networking with a small group of people. So yeah, she's the person you would go to for a referral for something, a resource that you needed. And they're good podcasters as well, because they can join the right guests with their audience, so they can give their audience the resources they need really easily.
I love that.
Mm.
And I know you've shared this with me. It matters if there's a bigger number first in your line, right? Or if there's if the lower number is first, right? There's a difference in what you just said. I think the interpersonal.
Yeah, that's right. So if the lower numbers first, like a 1-3, a 1-4, a 2-5, they're here to work on their personal karma, and not karma as in kind of a judgment, judgment and retribution type karma, just they're here to work on their relationship to themselves and what that looks like. And when you've got the larger number first, they're here to work on interpersonal karma. So that's me. So this 6-2 energy is my relationship with other people. And you can see that through my vocation. The struggles I had in my relationships with women, they've now become intimate. So I'm working through that interpersonal karma. And whenever there's the smaller number first, say like the 3-5 for you, your unconscious 5 over your lifetime it kind of has a bit of an agenda in a way, because what it wants to do is move your 3 energy up towards its 5 energy. So that's how you kind of play out your personal relationship to yourself. It wants the lower number kind of draws magnetically towards the larger number. That's just kind of a fun fact.
Awesome. I'm definitely feeling more of that natural born leader now.
You should. You absolutely should.
Moving into that energy, right? It's the conditioning can be really intense for us. And you were talking about types. So you were saying there are 5 types in human design. Can you share briefly about each of them?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, we've got generators. And generators are the most common type, about 70% of the population. And generators are the workhorses. Actually, let me backtrack. There's an analogy that I like to use, and I think I've used it in one of your groups before, about the collective building a house and the role that the different types have. Let's use that one. Okay. So we're the collective, we're in this valley, we have no house, we have no resources, we have no shelter, no food, no nothing. And we've got the 5 types in this collective. The manifestors, so about 9 to 12% of the population, the manifestors are the ones that push our boundaries, that break down expectations, bring us something new. So the manifestors are running up the side of the hill and looking over the top and saying, okay, where can we build this house? I've got an idea. Let's build a house. So they find us this incredible patch of land to build this house. And they kind of sell us on this idea and say, I'm going to lead you, come this way, because manifestors don't follow anyone else. They have this really strong leadership energy. They work in cycles. So that effort, that energetic effort of finding a house means that they're then going to have to rest. So they kind of come back into the collective and then they rest because they don't have defined sacral centers. Their energy needs to be looked after in a different way. It's very cyclical. So we have this patch of land and now we need plans. So our projectors then step in, and the projectors are, it's almost like they hold blueprints in their hands. They see the system. They work at this bird's eye level, and they can move people around into the right places. They see who needs to be where, very systems oriented. Famous projectors, Kris Jenner is a projector. So she does this with the Kardashians, like she moves them into the right places and she can see who fits where people's strengths are. Barack Obama's a projector. Gary Vee is a projector, if anyone knows Gary Vee. So he's very he can see things coming. He can see trends. He knows what systems are going to be used next in the collective. So our projectors have the blueprint and they're going to give us instruction about how to build this house. then we need someone to actually build the house. That's where the generators come in. So I'm a generator. The generators are the kind of workhorses of the collective, because we have this incredible sacral energy. And when we find something we love, we can go for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Generator energy can be employed by other people to fulfill their agenda, hence the corporate culture. Generators are because they have this incredible capacity to work long hours, means that they often get into contracts and situations that they're working for someone else. They don't love it. It doesn't light them up. So they're draining their sacral all the time. So that's something definitely to watch out for. It's kind of assumed that generators can just work and work and work, but only when they find something they love to do. For example, I was preparing a Gene Keys reading yesterday, and I worked on it for 9 hours straight because I loved what I was doing. I couldn't have done that in my office job. After 10 minutes, I was swinging around on my chair and Googling human design for the 100th time because I was so bored. So that's the generator energy. Anyway, we're building the house. We're physically building the house. And next, we've built this house, but it needs decorating. So that's where you come in. This is where our manifesting generators come in. So our manigens are a bridge between the manifestor energy and the generator energy. So there are decorators because they can go from thing to thing to thing to thing. They're designed to jump around, designed to take shortcuts. So 1 minute they can be telling us what color tile we should have in the kitchen. The next minute they're telling us what color cushions we should have and how many. The next they're in the garden directing the landscaping. Very kind of what always comes to mind with manigens is Tasmanian devil energy, like whirling around to all these different places. And again, we're told you should stick to one thing, you should find something you love and stick to it. Worst thing you can say to you, Michelle, or any manigen is you must do this. You must stay in this box and work at this thing. This is why I have such a need, such a vision to get this information to as many people as possible, because even hearing that line for someone can be very freeing. It's okay that I'm multi-passionate. It's okay that I do things so fast. I take shortcuts and sometimes I miss things and have to go back. Who cares? That's okay. I mean, unless we're a brain surgeon or a heart, so, unless it's nuclear launch codes or something, which is a whole different thing. But, so those are the manigens. And then finally, the reflectors. The reflectors are about 1% to 2% of the population. They have all completely open, undefined centers. And they're also called calibrators. So our reflectors are the ones that will stand back, have a look at the house and decide, is this healthy? Is it in a good environment? Are the people inside going to benefit from this healthy environment? The reflectors kind of take the temperature of the collective. They predict trends. They see what's coming. If you listen to Teal Swan on socials, she's a reflector, and she talks a lot about what's coming for the collective, kind of this early warning system. Sandra Bullock is another famous reflector, and they have very specific energy needs. This is why I love using human design in coaching, because the way I would coach a reflector compared to the way I would coach a generator, polar opposite. And if you didn't know and you tried to coach these two types in the same way with completely different energy needs, somebody's going to suffer. Somebody's not going to get what they need. So yes, in a nutshell, we've built our house. This is how the different types work and how they work together. Every type has a specific kind of job in the collective. And when we come together, it's really beautiful when we're all using our energy in the way it's designed to be used.
I love analogies. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's so nice to have that visual. And I remember when you were a guest speaker in my sisterhood, my monthly membership, and well, actually before then in She-Evolve, that was where we met. And I remember that analogy, and just, I'm such a visual learner. So being able to see how all of us work together, and that Manny Jen, I remember when I first started my business, even though I didn't know it was a business at the time, I was just following my nudges. I kept hearing like niche down, find your niche.
Mm,
And I would always get so perturbed. Like I would just be like, what do
mm,
you mean? Like there was just something
mm,
in me that like kind of how you felt at your corporate job, right? Feeling uncomfortable. I felt icky with the niche and now I know why, right? It's like
mm.
I'm meant
Absolutely.
to jump. I'm meant to be that
Mm,
Tasmanian devil and
mm,
pivot and shift and change. And that's where the permission slips come in. And I know you've said it before of human design, it's like a blueprint of your soul. And that
mm.
always stuck with me,
Absolutely.
that permission slip for
Mm,
people to be who they are. And I think for a lot of people, it's almost confronting, right? It's beautiful and it's a revelation. At the same time,
mm,
it's like, wait a second, that's who I'm meant to be in this life.
mm. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I love about human design, I'm glad you brought that up, is it's not designed to be limiting. It's not designed to put labels on people. And I have heard that as a kind of, when people don't really vibe with it, they say, but it's putting a label on me and I don't get it. I don't want to be in this box. It's not about putting you in a box. Just because I say to you, you're a manager and you can do 1,000 different things. If you don't want to do 1,000 different things, if you want to master one thing, master one thing. It's not a rigid system, but all it's giving us is a gentle guidance to say, here's an idea. If you want to do things differently than everyone else, if you want to kind of break through this conditioning, have a look at your blueprint. It may be that you don't need to niche down. It may be that you can do 1,000 different things, but it doesn't mean that you can't. There's no kind of, and there's no hierarchy. There's no kind of, oh, I wish I had, people with a defined ego center are better at sales, so I wish I had that. There just isn't any of that. It's all about acceptance and saying, yeah, I'm really kind of cool with who I am and I'm happy in my own skin, but I know that this blueprint isn't something that needs to box me in. I feel really strongly about that.
Mm, thank you for that. Yeah. And you mentioned before how you left your corporate job, how you were able to take that leap into human design and into your business. Can you share more about that journey? Because I know a lot of people, especially now, right, after a year and a half of what we're going through, are being called to leave jobs and to follow their calling. So, can you just
Mm,
share a little bit of your process with that?
yeah, I'd be happy to. Um, it really was a very distinct shift when I found human design, because I was always pushing, I was always trying to force these businesses into existence that just weren't right for me. As a generator, I'm designed to respond. My sacral responds to what is in its environment. But instead of responding like in the way I did with human design, I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I was so frustrated. Like, I would always be in tears. There were so many times I came home in tears because of sheer anger and frustration, because I was pushing. And I now know, if each type has a signature, like a beautiful energy that they're supposed to be in, and a not self. And the not self for a generator is frustration. And I was always in that not self. And I had a session with Emily. I can't think of her last name off the top of my head. She's so amazing. And she kind of put it to me and she said, from what you've described to me, she said, I feel like you're leaving yourself at the door when you walk into the office and you're being someone you're not. And my bosses always used to tell me, put your game face on, take the emotion, because I was a manager, take the emotion out of it. No one can see when you're upset or tired or emotional, enough. And now I know that I'm an emotional generator. So emotions is how I make decisions. And for the corporate world to be saying to me, you can't show your emotion, you can't use your emotion in your decision making. No wonder I was frustrated, because my energy just wasn't being used in the way it was supposed to be. But Emily said to me, bring some of yourself into the office, bring oils, bring cards, like make your energy so big that it cannot be contained by this office anymore. And I thought, really, is that going to work? Like, really? Of all the things I've tried, because I was all about strategy, that, I don't know. But my husband was the one that said, try it, because he was so desperate for me to not be unhappy anymore. And he said, go and get some oils, cards, get whatever you need. So on the Monday morning, I kind of came to work with my arms full of all of these things, like plants and cards and oils. And you think, oh my God, what are people going to think? And I walked into the office that morning, I put everything down, I opened the window because I wanted connection between me and the life that I wanted, because I always used to gaze out the window and be desperate to be out there in amongst life rather than trapped. So anyway, over the next few days and weeks, my team were totally into cards and oils, and they always used to ask me to pull a card for them. One of the women in my team, she actually left around the same time as me. She started her own business as a PT, and she's now my PT and I'm her business coach. And she was one of my staff members, and she always used to say, oh, pull me a card and I want some oils. And the energy just started to grow and grow. And even the women who I had difficult relationships with would come into the office and say, oh, can I have a drop of oil? It smells so good. And you could feel it lifting everyone's vibration in the office. And eventually, well, it didn't take long. That was in the April, maybe. And by the September, I'd gone part-time, because my energy just got so big, it just wouldn't be contained. I was like, this is who I am. And it really was that simple. As soon as I stopped trying to be someone else and I was able to bring myself into the office, it's like, I always explain it to my clients who've left their jobs, like the energy of your job just starts to fall away. And it almost happens without you noticing, till in the end, there's just no energy left there. So something has to come in to replace it. And now my husband uses them as well. He's got oils in his office, and his staff come in and ask for some lemongrass or this or that. So it actually didn't really matter what business I was leaving for. It was going to happen anyway. Oh, and the other thing I did, which has worked for my clients as well, was I randomly chose a leaving date. So this was in the April 2020. I chose a leaving date, February 2021, and I taped it underneath my keyboard. And whenever I was stressed or worried or, depressed about being at work, I just used to slide my hand under the keyboard and give that date some love and some energy. And I kind of said to the universe, I don't know how you're going to make this happen, but I know that I'm going to leave on this date or something better. And I ended up leaving the previous November. And it's happened. I've seen it work over and over again for people. Somebody that we both know, it worked for her. I mean, there's a lot of other factors, but that was another thing I did. So that's how it happened. And before I knew it, I've been out of my job over a year. And it was just a matter of switching my energy and my approach.
Being who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were nervous, right? You were so frustrated, and that's also that disempowerment, right? Putting our energy into our environment and into those around us, instead of being the powerful, beautiful women that we are and saying, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And there's a quote I read recently, and it's like that. It's like, instead of coming into a room and reading the energy, come into the room and be the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
we are, I don't want to say powerful in a bad way, but we are strong enough to be who we are and to share who we are. And I just love that that energy rippled out to your coworkers, to your friends, obviously your clients, and then your husband, and like your light work is just rippling out to so many beautiful souls.
Yeah, absolutely. He often has a queue of people at his office door asking for either a hit of Zen or a hit of glow oil or lemongrass, or and he's if you look at him, he's quite the most unlikely person you would think would have like a whole like kit full of oils in his drawer, but he's like, yeah, have some oils. Yeah, absolutely. So
Look at that. Look at
yeah.
when you owned who you were, right?
Mhm.
You then allowed others in. You allowed others to kind of open up their eyes and tap into their empowerment, right? Tap into their own energy. And that I just feel is the most powerful thing we can do in this life, right? Is to be so radically learn who we are, right? Learn the unconditioning and then be so fiercely who we are meant to be. And that just gives
Mm,
permission
exactly.
for others. And it's just, it's beautiful to witness. It's just, I love hearing that story of the ripple effect.
It's amazing. And it's almost like, well, it's not almost like, it is like it's like the universe is waiting for you to step up and claim it and say, okay, I'm ready. Whereas before I was like, please send something my way. Please make my life better. Now I was like, okay, I'm ready. I've got everything. I'm ready. Are we going to do this? And virtually overnight, things started to change. And so yeah, I would encourage anyone to do that. And the reaction that you get, I think most times will be not what you expect. People were just fascinated with it. And you think all this time I've been told that I should hide who I am. And all this time I should have been doing the complete opposite, but
Mm,
it's conditioning again. It's what the corporate world conditions us to do. It's strip everything away, strip all the emotion out until we can't really I got to the point at work where I could barely function
mm.
properly because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to manage people because if I wasn't allowed to show any kind of emotion, that's how I function. That's how I make decisions. It seems so crazy now I look back.
Yeah. Yeah, that the mask, right? The mask that
Mm.
we're told to wear. And it's it's happening though. I mean, over this last year and a half, like you're a trailblazer, showing others how it can be possible, right? So many people
Mm.
don't believe it can be possible for them. And I'm sure at one point you didn't even believe that
Oh,
either. And
absolutely. For years. I thought this is for everyone else. This is never going to happen for me. It's just not for me. And it affected everything in my life, my relationships, my home life, my downtime, my health. It affected everything. I used to get blinding migraines when I was in corporate. Now I don't, very rarely, and nothing like the kind of pain level I got when I was there. Um, but yeah, I was just in completely the wrong place for me. But that's where been conditioned to be. And I thought, yeah, it's not going to happen for me. This is something that happens for everyone else. But
mm,
that was just a story that I told myself because I was frustrated.
yeah, it's it's amazing. It's amazing. And I feel people, as we're recording this, I can already feel listeners being inspired by your story that it
Mm.
can be possible for them because our world is shifting, things are
Yeah.
changing, and we're being called more into, I have chills as I say this, we're
Mhm.
being called more into why we're here, right? We're not on this earth school to be rats in a race or be in the mouse wheel, the hamster wheel. We're
Yeah.
meant to do things and to yeah, to just
Mm.
be who we are. So
Mm. Yeah, one of the things that really helped me as well, and I forgot this, is just asking what if. Open up your
mm,
energy by asking, what if I can start a business? What if I'm not trapped here? What if the stories that my managers are telling me aren't true? And get curious. What if I'm not the kind of person that people think I am? And just those two words, that what if, get curious about what's possible. You can take yourself all sorts of places just by opening up your thinking. What if this time next year I can be at home? I can be here to look after Oscar when he's old. What if that is for me? So instead of saying, this is never going to happen for me, and telling the universe I'm in lack, I'm in fear, you're kind of saying, okay, let's see what we can do here. What if this is for me? And kind of get in that receptive mode rather than the frustrated mode. That really helped too.
Yeah, envisioning, right? We're not really taught to envision, or, I mean, even daydreaming is seen as wrong when we're kids in school,
Mm,
right? But
yeah.
that visual of what if, and then your brain starts to begin envisioning,
Mm,
what your dreams are, what lights you up, what you want to do, what, like, yeah, like, there's a nice there's a question prompt, right? If money weren't an issue, if bills weren't an issue, like, what would be your dream job? What would be your dream
mm,
day, right? Because so many people are functioning from survival,
mm,
right? And that harbors fear and frustration and anger. So I love that, the what
mm,
if. Yeah, what if,
mm,
what if you're
mm.
successful?
What
What if
if?
you
What
have
if?
hundreds of clients, and you get to work from home, and you get to
Mm,
create your own schedule, and you get to be lit up by work. I mean, I'm sure
mm,
you feel the same. When we
mm.
do our soul work, we are, after calls, you're just like, I can run a marathon, like
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
do.
yeah.
That's how you know it's your soul work, that it doesn't feel like work. It feels easy, effortless,
Mhm.
and it lights you up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And human design can help us there as well, because whenever anyone said to me, like, what do you want? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want? Be specific. I kind of always felt less than because I couldn't tell them. I know how I want to feel. I want to feel free. And every decision I make in my business is kind of underpinned by that. I want to feel free. I've changed some of my offerings very recently, successful programs, because I'm coming back to the what do I want to feel. So if you're a specific active manifester in human design, making a list of what you want your day to look like and being very detailed about it is a beautiful way to connect to your manifestations. I'm a passive, non-specific manifester. So the universe wants to know, well, Becca, how do you want to feel? So that's really important, I think, when you're looking at, well, what do I want my life to look like? Have a look at your manifestation style. For me, making lists and being very specific is, I just can't connect with it. Even as we're talking, I can't connect with that energy. Like, people say to me now, "Oh, what are your plans for your business next year?" And I'm like we were talking before we started recording, I was like, well,
Me
and
too.
yeah. So yeah, that's very freeing as well, because that can make you feel like, oh, I should know, I should be specific. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't do anything you don't want
Should
to.
should is not a word in our vocabulary.
No, no.
Yes, I'm also non-specific, and I think you helped me with that too, because I also never resonated with, yeah, like, specific, how much money I wanted to make per month, or how many clients, or what my day looked like. It's, yeah, that feeling, like liberation, the
Mm,
freedom, the inspiration, right? That's, yeah, the legacy you have, like, feeling that energy. I'm the same. So
mm,
yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. This conversation's
mm,
amazing. So besides your amazing business,
mm.
what lights you up? What are activities, things that you really enjoy doing that don't have an end result, don't have an
Mm,
outcome, are just in the moment, feel so, so good to you?
mm. So this is a great question, and it comes with a lot of conditioning, because my go-to, if I don't think about it properly, is, oh, this needs to be something spiritual. Like, I need to tell Michelle that I meditate for 2 hours a day and light candles and burn incense, and that's what lights me up. So that that conditioning of being spiritual kind of comes rushing in as well. And I do like those things. I meditate every day. You know, I do like candles. I do all that sort of thing. But let's be transparent and honest, because that might help someone else. So what do I really love to do? I love to spend time with Oscar. I love looking after him. He's got a bit of senility now. So I love being his go-to person that he feels safe with, that he doesn't have to worry about, you know, bumping into walls or finding his way to his food bowl. Like, his mum is always here. I love doing that. I love true crime. Again, not very spiritual, but I love it because it's very human. I spend a lot of time, as you do, kind of up in the realms more and more these days. So true crime documentaries bring me straight back down to earth. I find the psychology behind them fascinating, and particularly the kind of Ted Bundy type documentaries. I was born in the 70s, so I kind of resonate with that, you know, even that time. Love true crime, love it, and I escape in it. I love a really cold glass of Chardonnay at the end of the day, really crisp, cold glass of white wine. That makes me feel alive and human. And again, there can be conditioning around that. But let me share this. I've always remembered this. You know, Nora Ephron, she was a director who directed some old movies in the older movies in the 90s, like Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, and some older movies. Anyway, I read an article that she wrote. I think she had terminal cancer, and she wrote a list of what she would miss after she'd passed away. And it was things like sleep, waffles, wine. You know, it was really human things, and that's always stuck with me. And that's why I enjoy a glass of wine, you know, at the end of the day, because it's like, this is my human, and I don't want to miss out on my human. It's really important that I enjoy life, and I'm not always in that mode of spiritual service. And I think it's important to be honest about that, so people don't feel that they have to be a certain way in a spiritual business. It has to look a certain way, because we need human time as well. What else lights me up? I like listening to mediums and psychics. That really lights me up. That doesn't have an endpoint. That's just interesting to me. When we can travel, we love coming to the States. My favorite place in the world. You know, I love all the human things. I love shopping and eating and drinking, and New Orleans is my favorite place. That lights me up beyond anywhere I've ever been. I think because it's so spiritual, but in a really kind of my kind of way, like a
yes,
kind of
I love New Orleans too. Oh yeah, I remember feeling lots of things before I was awake there. It's a powerful place, and I love that. I love how you shared the conditioning, right? And I actually have, for those of you who are thinking of that, because I remember feeling that way in the beginning of my journey, like, oh, I have to meditate, and, you know, drinking wine isn't spiritual, and like, da, 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 da. And it's like, we're human. I actually, not surprising, have an episode called The Walking Paradox. We get to be it all.
I'll give that a listen.
if you guys are listening, you can go back. I forgot what number episode it is, but I love that. I love true crime too. The psychology, the energy behind it. It is, as the days go on, right? As we go deeper into our gifts and our businesses, yeah, we are in other dimensions. We are traveling to other realms, and we're connecting with so many other things. And it's important not to bypass our human experience.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
It's important for those who are just, and this podcast it's for everyone on the awakening journey, whether you're brand new, whether you're in the middle, whether you've been doing it for years. It's just an important reminder that don't shame yourself, right? Don't condition yourself. Don't box yourself. You can be it all. And there we're meant to be, we're humans in this lifetime. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we chose to come here, so let's dig in, let's dig into this experience. And I heard that from someone not long ago. I think it was Anita Morjani, who wrote Dying to Be Me, to her near-death experience. And she was saying we can't always be humans trying to get back home. Like, we have to be human while we're here. And yes, it's important to connect with your soul. That's really important. But we chose to come to be human, and all the lessons, but also all the fun that comes with it. So let's be human while we're here, because that's why we chose to be here. So that's always kind of stuck in my head as well.
Yes. Yeah. There's ice cream for a reason, right? There's sex for a reason.
Exactly.
There's juicy shows for a reason. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good reminder. Yeah. Oh, Becca, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your story. I am honored to know you. I'm honored that I've been able to have the experience of working with you. And I love you. I'm sending you so much love.
Thank you. I've had so much fun. I
know, it's like a coffee chat. Where can people find you?
So very easy. I'm Becca by Human Design everywhere. So BECCA by Human Design all over the place. TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, and my website, beccabyhumandesign.com.
And what are your current offerings? Or you're still working through new things?
So depending on when this episode airs, I've got a Black Friday bundle at the moment. So I've bundled all of the courses, like 7 courses, into one really, really low cost bundle. And you can go to my website, go to my Instagram, all the details are there. My coaching is open. I have 2 one-to-one coaching spots open. And then who knows what's going to happen next year. I know that I'm going to teach the psychic medium human design somehow when I'm ready. So if that's something you're interested in, just connect with me on Instagram.
Amazing. I'm so excited to see where that takes you.
Sorry, no, Michelle. Okay. I've just remembered I always do this. I do have a human design resource library as well. It's very low cost. It's $5 to join just one time. And there's lots of things in there, lots of presentations, lots of workshops, all the podcasts that I've done. There's a session in there from someone else about self-trust. Lots of live coaching calls, and I'm always adding to it. So that's on my website as well, the Human Design Resource Library. If anyone, particularly if you're new to human design and you're just kind of finding your way, that's a really good place to start.
Amazing. Yes. If you're listening, go check it out. There's so much knowledge, so much knowledge. Oh, thank you so much, Becca.
You're welcome. Thank you. I've had the best time. Thank you.